The 1980s. Crack cocaine flooded New York City. Jamaica Queens became a hotbed for this epidemic. From this chaos rose the Supreme Team. Led by Kenneth Supreme McGriff, they were ruthless. They were organized. They were making a fortune. Crack was cheap. It was addictive. It was everywhere. The Supreme Team preyed on this vulnerability. They recruited kids, young, impressionable, desperate for cash. These kids became soldiers in McGriff's army. The streets were their battleground. Violence became commonplace. Turf wars erupted. The police seemed powerless to stop them. The Supreme Team's grip on Jamaica Queens tightened. They were becoming untouchable. The Supreme Team operated with military precision. Their operations were meticulously planned, leaving little room for error. Every move was calculated, every action deliberate. They were not just a group of criminals, they were a well-oiled machine. McGriff, a former corrections officer, used his knowledge to build a structured organization. His experience in the prison system gave him unique insights into discipline and control. He knew how to manage people, how to enforce rules, and how to maintain order. This knowledge was invaluable in creating a gang that operated like a corporation. He instilled discipline and loyalty in his recruits. Members were expected to follow a strict code of conduct. Loyalty was paramount, and betrayal was met with severe consequences. This created a sense of unity and purpose among the members, making the gang stronger and more cohesive. This was not just a gang, it was a business. They had a clear hierarchy, with McGriff at the top, making strategic decisions. They diversified their operations, engaging in various illegal activities to maximize profits. Their business acumen allowed them to thrive in the competitive world of organized crime. They controlled the drug trade in Jamaica Queens. They expanded their territory, pushing out competitors and establishing dominance. The money poured in, and with it came power and influence. McGriff lived lavishly, enjoying the fruits of their illegal enterprise. Expensive cars, jewelry, and parties were the norm. He was a kingpin, living a life of luxury and excess. His wealth and status were symbols of his success, and he flaunted them at every opportunity. But beneath the surface, the violence escalated. As they expanded their operations, conflicts with rival gangs became inevitable. The streets turned into battlegrounds, with each side fighting for control. The violence was relentless, and the casualties mounted. The streets ran red with blood. Rivals were eliminated with ruthless efficiency. Addicts were exploited, their lives destroyed by the drugs that fueled the gang's empire. The human cost of their operations was staggering, but for the Supreme Team, it was just business. The community lived in fear. The constant threat of violence and the pervasive presence of the gang created an atmosphere of terror. People were afraid to leave their homes, and the once vibrant neighborhood became a shadow of its former self. The police knew they had a problem, a big problem. The Supreme Team was not just another gang, they were a formidable adversary. Law enforcement struggled to keep up with their sophisticated operations and the sheer scale of their criminal activities. The battle against the Supreme Team was just beginning, and it would be a long and difficult fight. While the Supreme Team ruled the streets, a new culture was emerging. It was a culture born out of the same urban environment, a response to the harsh realities of life in the inner city. This culture was raw, unfiltered, and deeply connected to the experiences of those who lived it. Hip-hop. From the same streets, young artists found their voice. They gathered in parks, on street corners, and in community centers, using music as their outlet. DJs spun records, creating new sounds by mixing and scratching vinyl. Breakdancers moved with a rhythm that seemed to defy gravity, and graffiti artists turned blank walls into vibrant canvases. They rapped about their lives, about the poverty, about the violence, about the drugs. Their lyrics were a reflection of their daily struggles, a way to document the world around them. It was a form of storytelling that resonated with many, giving a voice to those who felt unheard. Artists like L. Cool J and Run DMC were rising in popularity. They brought hip-hop to a wider audience, showcasing the talent and creativity that existed within their communities. Their performances were electric, filled with energy and passion. Their lyrics reflected the realities of Jamaica Queens. They spoke about the challenges and triumphs of life in the neighborhood, painting a vivid picture of their environment. It was a way to connect with their audience, to share their experiences and build a sense of community. The Supreme Team's presence was inescapable. They were intertwined with the very fabric of the neighborhood. Their influence was felt in every corner, from the streets to the music. It was a complex relationship, one that was both feared and respected. Some artists glorified the gang lifestyle. They saw it as a way to gain respect and power, to rise above their circumstances. Their music reflected this, often romanticizing the violence and crime that came with gang life. Others used their music to speak out against the violence. They saw hip-hop as a tool for change, a way to address the issues facing their communities. Their lyrics were a call to action, urging listeners to rise above the violence and work towards a better future. Hip-hop became a powerful tool. It was more than just music, it was a movement. It brought people together, creating a sense of unity and purpose. It gave a voice to the voiceless, shining a light on the issues that mattered most. It reflected the struggles and aspirations of a generation. Through hip-hop, young people found a way to express themselves, to share their stories, and to inspire change. It was a testament to the resilience and creativity of a community that refused to be silenced. The Supreme Team's influence extended beyond the streets. They had infiltrated the music industry. They saw an opportunity, a way to launder money, a way to gain legitimacy. They invested in up-and-coming artists. They used their muscle to control nightclubs and venues. The lines between the streets and the music business blurred. The police were watching. They knew McGriff was involved. They needed to find a way to bring him down. Section 5. Operation Pressure Point. The walls close in. The authorities launched a massive crackdown on the Supreme Team. Operation Pressure Point. It was the largest gang takedown in New York City history. Hundreds of officers raided suspected drug dens. They seized weapons, drugs, and cash. Arrests were made. The Supreme Team was dismantled. McGriff himself was arrested. He was charged with drug trafficking and racketeering. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. The streets of Jamaica Queens breathed a sigh of relief, but it was a temporary reprieve. Section 6. A Life After Crack, McGriff's Transition, 1997. McGriff was released from prison. The crack era was over, but McGriff was not finished. He saw a new opportunity. The hip-hop industry was booming. He moved to Baltimore. He used his street connections to establish himself in the music scene. He founded a record label. He worked with established artists. He was trying to reinvent himself. But the streets still had a hold on him. He couldn't escape his past. Section 7. Murderous Betrayal, the Murder of E-Moneybags, 2001. A pivotal moment. Rapper 50 Cent was shot multiple times. He survived. The shooting was orchestrated by McGriff. 50 Cent had mentioned McGriff's criminal past in his lyrics. This was seen as a betrayal. A year later, a more chilling event. E-Moneybags, a close associate of 50 Cent, was gunned down. McGriff was implicated in the murder. The authorities believed it was a revenge killing. The streets were talking. McGriff was a marked man. Section 8. The Price of Power. McGriff's Conviction, 2007. McGriff was put on trial for the murders of E-Moneybags and another man. The evidence was overwhelming. Witnesses testified against him. Phone records linked him to the crimes. The jury found him guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison. The notorious Supreme was finally brought to justice. His reign of terror was over. His legacy, however, would live on. Section 9. The Legacy of Supreme. Kenneth Supreme McGriff, a complex figure. He was both feared and respected. He was a product of his environment. He rose from poverty to become a powerful kingpin. He was a businessman. He was a manipulator. He was a killer. He left a trail of destruction in his wake. Countless lives were ruined. Families were torn apart. He was a symbol of an era of excess, violence, and greed. Section 10. The Supreme Team's impact. The Supreme Team, a notorious gang that rose to power in the 1980s, left an indelible mark on New York City. Their influence extended far beyond the streets of Jamaica Queens, where they originated. The Supreme Team's story is a cautionary tale. It serves as a stark reminder of how quickly power can corrupt, and how the allure of fast money can lead to devastating consequences. It shows the devastating impact of drugs and violence. The team was heavily involved in the drug trade, which brought not only wealth but also chaos and destruction to their community. It highlights the complexities of urban life. The Supreme Team thrived in an environment where opportunities were scarce and the lure of the streets was strong. Their story is intertwined with the socio-economic challenges of the time. It reveals the allure and danger of power. The leaders of the Supreme Team wielded significant influence, but their reign was marked by violence and fear. Their power came at a great cost. The legacy of the Supreme Team continues to resonate. Even today, their story is a topic of discussion and analysis, reflecting on the impact they had on their community and beyond. Their story has been told in books, films, and music. The Supreme Team has become a part of popular culture, their rise and fall documented in various forms of media. They serve as a reminder of a dark chapter in New York City's history. The era of the Supreme Team is a period marked by high crime rates and social unrest, a time that the city has worked hard to move past. The streets of Jamaica Queens have changed. Today, the area is undergoing revitalization with new businesses and a sense of community pride. However, the memories of the past still linger, but the scars of the past remain. The impact of the Supreme Team's activities can still be felt, a reminder of the challenges the community once faced. The story of the Supreme Team is a story that needs to be told. It is a crucial part of understanding the history of urban America, the struggles, and the resilience of its people. It is a story that must not be forgotten. By remembering the past, we can learn valuable lessons and work towards a better future for all communities.